welcome to another installment of Inner Alchemy, our daily program where we try to inspire you guys with some ideas or insights into ways to live your best life. And today we're going to be talking about, or continuing our discussion of magical thinking. You know, thinking magically involves so much more than just reading a book or chanting the right words or doing the right ritual. We're looking today at the third of a 7-part series into the 7 Hermetic Principles. And so today we're going to talk about the principle of vibration and how vibration has an impact on our ability to be magically thinking, magically creating, magically manifesting in our own lives without the sort of the hype and the fluff and sort of the new age packaging that sometimes gets peddled in pop culture. I apologize that the energy level might be a little bit more quiet in this video, as I'm in a great deal of pain, and so the main portion of the presentation today is actually going to be pre-recorded so that I would be able to bring a little bit more focus to the presentation, because I think this is material that's important. And we'll be back right after this. Hello and welcome to Inner Alchemy, the Science of Spiritual Living. This is Dr. John Michael Salvato. I'll be your host for our continuing presentation on the 7 Hermetic Principles. This is part 3, the principle of vibration, and is based on the text, the Kybalion. Now, for those who are not familiar with it, you may have seen this book in your local metaphysical bookstore or online. The Kybalion was said to be written by an anonymous group called the Three Initiates, although it is assumed very much so to quite possibly have been a pen name for the publisher who owned the Yogi Publication Society of Chicago in 1908, and then released for wider publication in, I believe it was 1910 or 1912, including several of the concepts and truths that were shared in the work of Hermes Trismegistus. So today we're going to start to unpack that third principle, the principle of vibration. And in essence, the principle of vibration in the Kybalion says nothing rests. Everything moves, everything vibrates. This expounds on the idea that motion is manifest in everything and every aspect of the universe, and that nothing is ever at a complete state of rest. Everything vibrates, and everything has a fundamental or subatomic movement taking place. Mental transmutation is described as the practical application of the principle of vibration. So how do we mentally transmute the states or changing your mental state? You change your mental state by changing the vibration of that mental state. So this is really fundamental. What it means is that everything that exists in our universe, whether we see it or don't see it, broken down into its most basic form, consists of pure energy or pure light. And this pure energy or pure light resonates and exists as a vibratory frequency or pattern. So we can see that we're not just talking about the things that are sitting on your table in front of you right now, the computer screen that you may be looking at, but the things that we don't see, the spirit or essence that's all around you. Now, the ancients understood, and the mythos tells us that Hermes Trismegistus said that the difference between matter or manifestations of matter, manifestations of energy, mind, and even spirit result largely from the varying rates of vibration. So the denseness, the density of matter is because it vibrates at a lower level. The ethereal nature of spirit is because spirit vibrates at a higher level. Now, science would later confirm this, really, if you think about it, because science tells us that everything in the manifest universe is ultimately composed of packets of energy, quantized units vibrating at specific frequencies. And we know what some of those frequencies are. Quantum physicists have shown us that although matter might appear to be solid, if you look at it through a high-powered microscope, you break it down to the smallest of components, molecules, atoms, neutrons, electrons, and quanta, it is ultimately mostly empty space interspersed with energy. And our ancestors have affirmed this. They've said that he who understands the principle of vibration has grasped the scepter of power. So today we're going to talk about what that means for us as metaphysical practitioners, whether you consider yourself a mage or a witch, whether you consider yourself to be an energy worker or a healer or any other word that you choose. When we begin to really look deeper below and beneath the surface, if you will, of the words themselves and what we're actually doing, it's important that we understand how our vibration is affected. So let's look at that, because if the principle is that he who understands the principle of vibration has grasped the scepter of power, that means that there must be an awareness, an understanding, a deeper knowing available to us to increase that power. So as your conscious mind dwells habitually on a thought of a certain quality, these become firmly embedded within the subconscious mind, and they become the dominant vibration. So, for example, if a person is ill, they are suffering from some sort of dis-ease, and their mind is preoccupied habitually with the idea that things are going to get worse. They don't have energy. They're feeling out of sorts. And they're just not able to live a quality of life anymore. Well, that becomes the dominant vibration for that person. And this dominant vibration sets up a resonance with all other similar vibrations, drawing them to themselves. So when we say that's your thoughts create your experiences, this is what we mean. So it's really important, if we're going to begin to understand, that all of this begins with habituation. What are the things that you habitually, the thoughts that you habitually entertain? What are the ideas, the beliefs, even the fears that you habitually entertain, that you cling to? Might some of those things be what we consider and have spoken of in other classes to be chaotic data? That's just dragging your energy level, dragging your vibrational frequency down. There's a fantastic book out there that I highly recommend if some of what you're hearing today begins to resonate with you. And by the way, that resonance, what is that? That's a vibrational frequency resonating. But the book is called Frequency. It's by Penny Pierce, available widely on Amazon and local bookstores. And it's really one of those books that you start reading it thinking that it might be just another sort of new agey look at vibration. And the deeper you go into it, it is one of the most amazing books that I've read. So insightful and so accurate. So this idea that we not only possess a frequency as matter, but as in our human bodies, in our human forms, but that our thoughts and emotions likewise create frequencies of their own, is really important. And it's particularly important to our practice, to our spiritual practice, because the vibrations all around us can then have an impact on our overall vibrational frequency and even lower the frequency that we possess as matter. So on the screen in front of you, you see some of the frequencies that we've determined through science, through research. Starting in the middle, courage has a frequency of somewhere around 200. Neutrality or boredom, 250. 310 for willingness. But we jump up then to love, enthusiasm, happiness, positive expectation. That vibrates around the 500 mark. peace, the 600 mark, enlightenment, the 700 mark, appreciation and gratitude between 780 and 900. And then at the other end of the scale, fear vibrates at about 100, apathy 50, lack of interest, depression, guilt and insecurity at 30, shame at 20, and of course death at 0. So you can see on this frequency, which not only gives us the frequency of those emotions, but also the colors and the frequency, the sort of the scale, the span of those frequencies in the color spectrum as well. This is very important if you do color magic, or if you do sound magic, you do energy work of any kind. Nikola Tesla said, if you want to find the secrets of the universe, think in terms of energy, frequency, and vibration. So one of the things that I had become familiar with in my time living in the monastery was the Solfeggio frequencies. In around the 11th century, a Benedictine monk, Don Guido d'Arezzo, created a method of sight-reading music for the monks in his monastery based on an ancient wisdom tradition passed down in secret, which is said to have been the science behind Gregorian chant. Now, we know that there's been a lot of research done that tells us that Gregorian chant has a powerful impact on helping people to relax, helping people who are going through things like trauma, PTSD, or even chemotherapy, to help them to get back to a better place of healing. So this scale that Don Guido d'Arezzo was sharing with people, these frequencies are known as the Solfeggio scale. And it was almost immediately recognized that the tones in the Solfeggio frequencies themselves seem to have an influence over the mental state, the spiritual ecstasy, the ability to connect with their higher power, even with healing. So on the illustration on this particular slide, you'll see that at the state of turning grief into joy, the frequency of 396, and the color in the color spectrum of red allows us to begin to turn frequency into joy. At 417, we begin to facilitate change. At 528, and this is very important, and I can tell you that I could do an entire show on using the frequency of 528, repairing DNA, in my own personal journey as someone who has been living with AIDS since 1983. It played a very important role in my recognition. Now, directly across from that, you'll see that pain reduction begins at a frequency of 174. How fortunate are we that pain reduction happens at 174, because that means that we could be functioning at a relatively low vibrational frequency and begin to work on our pain. And we reconnect with our higher purpose at 639. We return to spiritual order at 852. And you can use these frequencies themselves. There's some tremendous work that's been done by a number of people that we may have on the show, on the brew, in the coming weeks and coming months, that work specifically with frequency. But what I wanted to do in explaining the principle of vibration is to share with you that even science, according to Dr. Alan Watkins, who is a neuroscientist speaking recently at Imperial College of London, the Solfeggio frequencies have an impact on psychology and on physiology. And there have been numerous studies here in the United States as well that have corroborated that those research findings. Excuse me again. Now on this slide, we see the color spectrum, and we have much greater detail of what happens and how those colors relate to the various 7 chakras, what they do for us, what the note is, or the frequency that impacts that chakra. So if you're looking to balance your chakras and you followed this frequency this series of frequencies, and I'm quite certain that you can find these probably on YouTube or elsewhere on the internet, where the frequencies are played as tones that gradually increase. At the root chakra, you're able to liberate yourself from hidden blockages created by guilt and fear. You're also able to bring comfort to the skeletal and waste elimination systems. The word that you would chant, what we call the seed syllable there, would be Lam. Then at the second chakra, you're able to resolve trauma, particularly sexual trauma, clear and release destructive influences from any past traumatic events, and optimize your cellular function. If you're dealing with a manifestation of cellular disease or a cellular imbalance, the seed syllable is Vam, and the note there is 417 hertz. Your third chakra activates your imagination, your intention, your intuition. This is the chakra that you are able to sort of reset the DNA to its original and perfect state. Remember, in previous programs, we talked about the fact that despite the fact that we may use different terms to speak about what we do as witches, what we do as sorcerers or mages, is really fundamentally to work with energy, and to work with the energy around people, to work with the energy around systems and matter and circumstances. And so you can see that at this resonance of 528 hertz, whose seed syllable in the Hindu tradition, in the Vedic traditions, was Ram, activates the third chakra, but it also allows you to reset that person's DNA. And then, of course, going up, the fourth chakra is what allows the cells in your body to communicate more effectively. It allows the cells in every bit of matter in the universe to communicate more effectively. It is the communication chakra and allows you to boost your immune system. So if you think about this, you start to see, as we talked about somebody in my own personal experience of thriving beyond the experience of AIDS, we start out by recognizing that we need to optimize our cellular functions. Then we increase that vibrational frequency to reset the DNA. And once we've done that, now we're able to boost the immune system. So this becomes part of that process. Now we're connecting with everything in the cosmos. And we continue to move up, and then at the fifth chakra, whose syllable is Ham, the true self, your true nature as pure awareness, your true nature as love, your true nature as light, or however you perceive that, is reestablished. We're able to open whatever the blocks are and find the ability to reclaim our power, so that we no longer are at the mercy of our addictions, no longer at the mercy of habituation. And as we do this, we cleanse the toxins from ourselves. We release any of the impact and effect that electromagnetic radiation might have on us, and that allows us to then begin to invigorate or reinvigorate that sixth chakra, which allows your cells to transform to a higher level. This is the area where we begin to awaken. We begin to see things as they truly are. And so the central nervous system begins to operate at a higher level, the level it was actually intended to. The syllable there is Om. And you might recognize that in the meditative traditions, particularly the Vedic traditions, and some of the Asian traditions, that you hear people chanting Om. This activates the sixth chakra. And the resonance there is 852. I want to challenge you, when you're done, or if you're watching this on the replay, go ahead and pause this and then open your browser and do a search and find out what the resonant frequency is of the Earth. And hopefully you've turn the video back on at this point. And now we talk about that seventh chakra, which is the chakra whose seed syllable is the breath itself. This allows you to reconnect to the energies of the spiritual world. This allows you to truly experience the oneness, our true nature. And the resonance there, the frequency there, is 963. Now we'll talk about this whole process of using sound frequencies, and what we'll be talking about in a second, color frequencies, in future episodes of The Brew, our talk show, because this Inner Alchemy program was the program we've done for the last several years. We are kind of winding that down so that the Inner Alchemy movement itself might have spin-offs in many different directions as we create what we're calling the collective, which is simply a movement of people who are dedicated to wanting to increase those frequencies in their lives for their own benefit as well as the benefit of all sentient beings. So let's kind of wrap that up by looking at again, staying focused on the energy centers, your chakras, and the colors that are associated with those chakras, and we've got the resonance. If you look at the far right, the notes, that's the resonance itself. And now on this chart, I've also included a couple things. I've included the issues that a person might be experiencing when they come to you and ask you to work with them, or when you're working on your own personal stuff. So we've got the issues and we've got the right, the innate human right that those issues impact. And then the note. And then if you look back to the third column, you'll see the element that those chakras activate, the element that those chakras work with. And my recommendation to those who are listening to this is to understand that a lot of what we see in the neo-pagan movement, in Wicca, in Norse paganism, a lot of the things that we're seeing in the modern day restoration movement of pagan traditions might talk about the elements that are involved in a particular spell or a particular ritual, but seldom, in my opinion, in my experience, seldom focus enough on what I think is much more important, and that is the spirit that is attached to those things. Because if we don't work with the spirits of earth, the spirits of air, the spirits of water and fire, the spirit of the stick that we pick up, the spirit of the leaf that we use, or the herb, or the incense, unless we work with and honor the spirits that are involved, then we're kind of throwing that proverbial spaghetti against the wall and hoping it sticks. And so this, I believe that using color frequencies is a really tremendous way to really build your practice. So again, we see the root chakra, whose color is red, at the base of your spine. The element involved is the earth. And so if you are dealing with physical needs, which is your right to have, your right to possess, your right to manifest, then work with red candles, or a red ribbon around a white candle, or however you choose to do that. But also recognize that at that particular chakra, that particular need, your craft should involve some element of the earth. At the second chakra, the sacral chakra, located in your lower abdomen, that's where we talk about sexuality and emotions. And let's be clear, when most people are talking about love spells, they're not, and this is one of the reasons why they have the issues that they have, after I have a sip of coffee, they're not really looking for a love spell. They're looking for an emotional spell. They're looking for sexuality, attraction spells. Orange is the color of attraction. it's all surrounding our right to feel, our right to express our feelings. And water is the element that you want to work with in that case. The third chakra, the solar plexus, located, of course, in your solar plexus, is controlled with the element of fire. This is where our strength, our power, our authority comes into play. That's our right to act, our right to be the author of our stories. And the color there is yellow. Fourth chakra, the heart chakra. A lot of people assume then if they're working with the heart chakra, they're working with red. That is not the case. The heart chakra is green. The element is the air. And the issues are our ability to love and to be loved. But more importantly, this is not the chakra that you work with when you're trying to work with love spells. This is the chakra that you work with when you're working with a person's self-esteem, when you're working with a person's ability to let go of that which is not love, which we call fear. The fifth chakra, the throat chakra, is the chakra that addresses communication issues and our right to speak. Some might say that the right to speak truth to power. The element involved there is the element of sound. The color is blue, and as that blue deepens, we get to the sixth chakra. That's located between the brow. Light is the element we're working with there. Intuition is the issue. It's the opening of that third eye, the ability to truly see. And then the top of the head, the crown chakra, is operated through the element of thought. That's the place where we go to deal with issues of understanding, issues of wisdom and recognition. It's also the ability to know, to truly know what's going on in any circumstances. So I'm hoping that you're able to start to see in this third installment how the work with this third principle, the principle of vibration, manifests itself in some of our practices as well, whether that's ritual chanting, whether spell casting, the spoken word, candle magic, again, color magic, the colors that we use and the elements that we use on our altars, music, and things like the ringing of bells. These are all part of that work with the third principle, the principle of vibration. And I want to leave you today with a quote from a recent paper that I did, which says that any expression of disease, no matter whether you're injured or feel ill, whether you're feeling sad or depressed, is simply a symptom of a reduction in your natural vibration. So if you pause this video at this point and read that a couple of times over, allow those words to wash over you. Any expression of disease, no matter whether it's an injury or sickness, whether you're feeling sad or depressed, whether you're feeling disempowered or have a feeling that your right to speak your mind is being taken away, is a symptom of a reduction in your natural vibration. So the way to correct that is to work with that energy to increase that vibration, and that symptom will take care of itself.